They taught every cadet the same story. Humans were banned from Galactic War because they were too violent, too ferocious, too unpredictable. Berserkers from a high-gravity death world, unleashed only in nightmares and cautionary tales. The kind of creature you whispered about to scare young recruits into following orders. They were a myth, a boogeyman the galaxy had agreed to lock away and forget. But Lieutenant Taventel was about to learn the truth, and the truth he would discover was so much worse than the myth. The stories didn't even come close. The Elysian Coalition was losing badly. The Kuturi Combine, with their elegant starships and flawless tactics, had defeated them for the 5th time in as many cycles. The battles were clean, almost beautiful. Perfect formations executed with mathematical precision, honorable withdrawals when the objective was met. War, as Taventel understood it, was a ritual. It was a formal declaration of intent, a measurement of strength, and an acceptance of loss. There were rules, there was honor. But there was also the undeniable fact that his people were being systematically dismantled. After the 5th crushing defeat, Fleet Marshal Yave, his face a mask of grim resolve, invoked Emergency Clause 9, a secret contract, a forbidden option, a name spoken only in the darkest corners of the fleet, a last resort that felt more like a surrender to madness. They were going to hire humans. Taventel was assigned as a liaison. He steeled himself, expecting to meet monsters. He envisioned hulking brutes, scarred and roaring, their weapons laid out in a show of primal dominance. He expected war-chant's bravado, a thirst for glorious combat. Instead, he found silence. He was escorted to a dimly lit cargo bay, the air thick with the smell of ozone and recycled air. There, huddled around a flickering datapad, were 3 humans. They weren't wearing armor. They weren't sharpening blades. They were dressed in simple, functional jumpsuits, their faces illuminated by the soft glow of the screen. They looked less like warriors and more like surgeons preparing for a complex and delicate operation. They barely acknowledged him. When they finally spoke, their questions were not what he expected. They didn't ask about the Kuturi's fleet strength, their weapon yields, or their tactical doctrine. They asked about their food, their fuel logistics, their command structure, and the personal habits of their admirals. Not how the enemy fought, but how they lived. That was when Lieutenant Taventel felt the first icy chill of a fear he couldn't name. This wasn't war as he knew it. This was something else entirely. The humans didn't plan battles. They didn't draw up grand strategies with sweeping arrows on a star chart. They mapped systems. Not star systems, but systems of belief, supply rhythms, cultural habits, deep-seated, unexamined assumptions. Talernet, through meticulous analysis, that the Kuturi trusted their automated systems completely, implicitly. Their faith in their own technology was absolute. So the humans didn't attack the Kuturi fleet de Lisaned. They turned a single, destroyed reconnaissance drone into a passive listening device, feeding them gigabytes of seemingly useless diagnostic data. They found a maintenance port left open during a routine repair and turned it into an open vein, quietly siphoning information. They didn't attack the army. They taught it to lie to itself. It began with tiny, insignificant errors. One shipment of luxury goods for a high-ranking officer was delayed by a single rotation. One patrol route was nudged a few degrees off course, just enough to miss a minor stellar phenomenon. One maintenance schedule was shifted, causing a negligibly at-recorded dip in engine efficiency. Thousands of tiny, subtle errors, each one too small to trigger an alarm or warrant investigation. There were no explosions, no dramatic confrontations, just a slow, creeping, systemic decay. The cumulative effect of these tiny errors began to manifest. The Kuturi's perfectly tuned war machine started to sputter. Fleet Marshal Yaf, seeing what he thought was an enemy in disarray, ordered a full retreat, a strategic feint to lure the Kuturi into a trap. The galaxy saw it as cowardice. The media on a dozen worlds decried the Elysian Coalition's lack of resolve. The Kuturi, however, saw it as confirmation of their inevitable victory. Blinded by arrogance and data that had been subtly poisoned, They pursued aggressively. Too aggressively. Their entire grand fleet, a magnificent and terrifying sight, marched toward what they believed would be the final, glorious battle and found nothing. An empty star system, a phantom fleet composed of ghost signals and decoy drones. And while the entire Kuturi command structure stared into the void, baffled and confused, the real strikes began. Hundreds of light years away, their fuel depots, left with minimal guards, vanished in silent, coordinated sabotage. Shipyards, vital to their long-term war effort, went up in flames, attributed to industrial accidents. Key communication relays went silent, isolating fleets and fragmenting their command. The enemy never fired a shot, and still, the Kuturi Combine was dying. The war didn't end with a bang. It ended with a keystroke. While the Kuturi fleet was scattered, chasing ghosts and dealing with a logistical nightmare, the humans made their final move. Two ranking Kuturi admirals, known for their gambling debts and illicit affairs details. The humans had quietly acquired were discreetly captured. Their command keys, their very digital identities, were compromised. A single order was then sent through the highest priority command channel, authenticated and signed by the Admiral's own authority. The order was simple. Cease all hostilities. Recall all forces to home territory. A military coup is suspected. The Kuturi fleet, already in a state of confusion and paranoia, obeyed. What else could they do? The order was legitimate. The war ended not with a victory parade, but with mass confusion. Within a week, facing internal collapse and a phantom threat they couldn't comprehend. The Kuturi Combine sued for unconditional peace. At the treaty table, the humans, acting as Elysian advisors, spoke only once. The defeated Kuturi expected to be crippled. They expected harsh reparations, surrendered territories, public humiliation. The humans asked for none of it. No punishment. No vengeance. Their only demand was prevention. They proposed and oversaw the dismantling of the very systems that made a war of this scale possible. They insisted on open, transparent communication protocols between the two powers. They created independent multi-species oversight committees. For military procurement, they helped restructure the Kuturi command, decentralizing it to prevent such absolute authority from ever being wielded again. They didn't cripple the enemy's military. They performed surgery on their society, removing the very idea of future war. In the aftermath, the Galactic Council held an emergency session. The vote was swift and unanimous. The ban on humanity's participation in interstellar conflict would be made permanent and absolute. Davintel, now a decorated captain, watched the proceedings. He finally understood. The galaxy hadn't banned humans because they were violent. They banned them because humans were something far more terrifying. They didn't see war as a sacred rite or a glorious contest of strength. They saw it as a problem, a design flaw in the fabric of civilization. And instead of playing the game, instead of trying to win, they broke the board. That is the real reason humans are banned from galactic war. Not because they are monsters, but because they are engineers of peace, and their methods are more terrifying than any weapon. Thanks for watching.